then they offered me the position up at Arnold Engineering Development Center, and which is in Tullahoma, Tennessee, the largest ground test facility in the world that nobody knows about to any great degree. And that's just the way we liked it. They tested all space-related hardware in ground, but simulated altitude conditions. For instance, all the motors, engines that we use in aircraft, the space satellites, the Minuteman program, and we would test all of the systems before they were put into the operational inventory.
And tell me again, your position was?
As the commander.
Commander. It was at a large facility in terms of people you were commanding, sir?
We had it was a contract organization. In other words, we had, I think it was about 200, a little over 200 military personnel and about 4,000 civilian personnel.
Okay.
That we used to test all of the equipment prior to being placed into the inventory, and then we would periodically pull a stage 2, for instance, Minuteman missile. We would pull it out of the active inventory someplace and put it in our test cell and test it to make sure that it was still what it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. So can you, 30 years later, can you tell me, can you tell me about any of the systems that you were working on that might have been top secret back then?
Well, we were, all the drones we started all that testing back in the 80s.
Okay.
For all those things that are flying around now. Anything that is flying, like for instance, GE or Pratt & Whitney, or Rolls-Royce, all of their aircraft engines, prior to being accepted by the Air Force, they would come down to Arnold and be tested and go through. We had a program down, or I should say test cells, a couple test cells, that would simulate you starting the engine up, taxiing out, taking off, going up to, we could go simulate it up to 100,000 feet, but needless to say, the engines never went up there, so 70, 60, 50,000 feet, go through icing conditions, everything, anything that you could envision in actual flight, we would simulate in our test cells, and then bring it back down and simulate land and taxi back in and shut down. So that's the type of program that we were working with and still are. So it has to go through our facility before it's accepted by the Air Force or the Navy. The Navy is part of it now. 81 to 85, because I forget exactly when I came in. I came in as the vice commander for 6 months, and then when the commander, General Johnson, left, I took over as the commander and spent 3 years as the commander. You would be surprised what we were testing, and I just gave you one facet as far as engines, but you can just envision anything that's in the air, we were testing it. And we were testing it way before you ever saw it in the air. So it was really a fascinating assignment. Like, for instance, a fighter. A fighter will, or a bomber will drop its ordnance. Now, that ordnance might not come out of that aircraft correctly. It might, due to the airstream, it might bounce back up and hit that aircraft and destroy the aircraft, unless it comes out exactly a certain way. conditions at Arnold prior to it going operational. So, there's so much scientific study and research and experimentation that goes into these systems before they ever become operational, because, once it becomes operational, it's a pretty costly endeavor.